Hi guys, I'm Brooke and this is Pippa, and we travel full-time in my 1990 Coleman Pop Up. One of the questions I get so often is how I power things in my camper since I mostly boondock. So this video is going to go into depth about the two Bluetti products I now use to power everything in this camper. I want to thank Bluetti for sending me the new EB3A and sponsoring this video for you guys because I am so in love with their new product. I think it has filled such a gap in the market, especially with trying so many different power stations at this point and knowing the needs of being on the road full time and everything like that. There are so many little things that this new EB3A has completely covered and has filled those gaps. So I want to first say that I first started working with Bluetti back in February. I was sent the EB70 at the beginning of that partnership, and that really changed the game for me. If you guys didn't know already, I was running almost everything in my car off of a tiny 160 watt little power station, and so to go from 160 watts all the way up to 700, it really changed the game for me. I've fallen in love with Bluetti since. I keep it with me in the camper. I have been using it to power my fridge, and I even have an adapter so I can plug the entire camper into the EB70 and be able to use my lights, my heater, everything I need in here. So I'm definitely keeping it with me. It is a staple in my power setup, but the EB3A has covered so many other things. It has replaced my other smaller power station, so I want to talk to you guys about that. If you've gone back and watched my other power station video where I compared them all, one of my biggest complaints about the EB70 is that it takes a really long time to charge and it is really heavy. So the EB3A is only 10 pounds, which completely takes care of the heavy part, especially now being in a smaller lightweight camper. I have to be really careful about how much more weight I bring on board, especially with my towing capacity of my car and everything like that. So the fact that this battery bank is only 10 pounds, it can be used by pretty much anybody, and it's so portable that I can move it around the camper as I need. It has a 600 watt inverter in it, even though it is such a small battery bank, which I think is such a game changer because with other companies, you have to purchase a larger battery to get that bigger inverter, which means a lot of the times it is priced out for a lot of people, especially if you want to run small devices like a little mini blender or one of those little mini griddles or waffle makers. That 600 watt inverter, even though it is a smaller battery bank, makes such a huge difference, especially because a lot of those devices you aren't running for a long period of time. You can then recharge the EB3A so much faster. It takes maybe 2 hours to go from 0 to fully charged with just my 100 watt solar panel that I have. On the Bluetti website, it does say that if you are doing dual charging where you plug it into a wall and solar or something like that, you can charge it as fast as 30 minutes. I obviously don't have that option, especially because I boondock most of the time, but I did stay at a campground recently and I plugged it in just to my outlet because I was hooked up to shore power, and it literally did charge that fast. I had plugged it in just to get it topped off for the night before I got back on the road, and it charged in like maybe 45 minutes from 0. So I believe it. They have really taken care of the charging issue and how slow it is with this new upgraded technology, and that's what makes me so excited about it because I think it is so worth it, especially because you guys know sometimes there are times when you're on the road where you only get a few hours of sunlight and then maybe clouds roll in, you know, storm comes in or something like that, and you still want to be able to power all of your things. That shortened charging time really makes a huge difference. I know sometimes before you get on the road you don't realize how quickly, you know, the weather can change and the clouds can kind of mess up your charging, but to be able to have that pack a punch when you do have that full sunlight, that just makes all the difference. Like I said, this has taken care of every single one of my needs in one little power station, and honestly, if this was an option when I first got on the road, it would have been my go-to, and I probably could have run every single thing off of it for the entirety that I lived in my car and could be able to fully have everything I need. You have your USB and your USB-C chargers, so then now you can use them with some more upgraded products as well as some of your older ones that maybe have haven't been, upgraded to that UBC charger just yet. And it's quick. I can charge my phone super fast off of it because I can use that UBC charger. So it just has that, again, faster charging capacity, not only for the power station itself, but for what you're using it for. And then it still has that charging pad on top. So I have two phones. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. So I can have both of those plugged in and one on the top if I want to. If all of the other chargers are taken by my Kindle or my vacuum, my Fitbit, etc., I can have everything charging all at once that I need. And it can be plugged in with the solar panel and charging itself at the same time. I just recently tried another power station that doesn't let you use any of the charging capacities while the power bank itself is charging, and it was so frustrating. So to be able to keep the power bank hooked up to solar and have it actively charging while you are charging your devices is such a big deal after I realized what it was like to try out a different power station that did not have that capacity. Obviously, I have talked a lot before about that 12-volt plug-in for the fridge, just that same kind of like cigarette lighter kind of 12-volt plug-in. My fridge runs off of that, and it is what powers, the most, I would argue, one of the most important things I have now on the road is my fridge. So it's really important for me to be able to keep that fridge running so I can have it on the EB3A perfectly, no problem, and keep it charging all night long and not have a problem with it at all. It does obviously have two AC ports. You have to be a little bit more careful with these because obviously it draws more power from the station, so you may not be able to charge as long because, like I said, even though it has a really high watt inverter, the actual power bank itself isn't a huge bank, so I can charge my laptop off of it fully before draining it, which is a really big deal. I work a lot more on my laptop now than I ever did on the road before. And then I have like I mentioned before, like my flat iron, my hot tool curling iron, Pippa's nail grinder, the little mini waffle maker I use sometimes in my videos, things like that all can get plugged into those AC ports as well. One of my absolute favorite things about this power station is something that I didn't even consider until I saw it and realized how much it had been missing from the EB70 is this display. I cannot tell you how excited I got that I can see the actual percentage on the display. Not only does this display look super nice and high end, of course, you always want something when you're paying a little bit higher price for a product, you want it to look nice and clean and really high end, and it definitely does, but to see the actual battery percentage as opposed to on the EB70 where it is just bars, on the EB70 when I am charging that outside, if it is in between 0 and 20% or 20% and 40%, 40% and 60%, I don't know exactly where I am in there, so I don't know how close it is to completely dying. There's also even a little bit more of an upgrade with that. Below the percentage, you can actually see how many watt hours you have left depending on how many things you are charging as once, and it fluctuates and moves. So you can actually see how long what you're charging is going to drain that battery. And for a lot of people, power is really confusing, and it really confused me obviously at the beginning of what device pulls what wattage and what watt hours and all of this stuff. You don't really know exactly how long you have to charge certain devices, and it puts it right there on the display screen for you, so it takes all the guesswork out of it. They also added another major upgrade now to where you can control your Bluetti off of your phone. I really like the fact that because it has that off and on switch and you can see other stats on your phone, that I can maintain it just from my phone, so I don't have to get up and go change it if I don't want to, or if it's charging outside I can turn it off and on from outside, or if I have it in a cabinet or something, I have it kind of put away but it's still powering my fridge, I can check to make sure it's still on, or if I need to plug it into solar, I can manage that all from my phone. Obviously I'm in a pretty small space, I don't need to do that very often, I can just get up and go look at it. Overall, I'm so glad that they came out with this product, not because this is sponsored, but because I think this has really filled a need for a lot of people. It is a pretty affordable price. Because this is a new product, you can consistently get it for under $300 from Amazon, and their email list you can get 20% off. I also have a code that I'll put in the description box and things like that where you can get this for a really affordable entry price. I think if you are first starting to get on the road and you really need a good quality power station that isn't too big, it's not going to take up a ton of space in your rig, and you also need it to charge higher wattage items, I think this is something that you should definitely invest in. I think it's going to last you a really long time. Like I said before, if you haven't watched my previous video, I was running everything off my car from a 160 watt charger, and I would have definitely spent the extra $50 or $60 if this was available 2 years ago when I first got on the road, instead of investing in that product. So I think this is a great entry level. It's definitely something you should consider. And I will quickly mention, if you don't have solar, I know I talked about it a lot, it still has the 12 volt charger that you can charge it while you're driving. You can charge it up with the wall outlet at home before you leave, or things like that if you're only taking it for the weekend or something. There are more options to charge it just other than solar, but I will say that if you do have solar, you don't need a big solar setup to be able to get this charged quickly. I want to thank Bluetti again for sponsoring this video and letting me try this out and bring it to my audience and tell you guys about it. I'm really excited about this product. I will obviously leave everything linked in the description below. I will leave my coupon code down there as well, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!